Imagine for a moment that just beyond the walls of your room, there is a locked door. You've walked past it your entire life. You've been told there is nothing behind it, but late at night, you hear it, a faint scratching, a whisper. It is the sound of the person you could have been, trying to get out. Most people spend 40 years ignoring that sound. They die in a quiet room, having never found the key. But what if I told you the key is not out there? It is not in a better job, or a lottery ticket, or a stroke of luck. The key is a feeling, an ancient, forgotten fire that the modern world has tried to extinguish. And if you can find it tonight, that door will swing open. Let us sit with this for a moment. In the quiet of your own mind, away from the noise of the day, I want you to consider a single word. The word is desire. What comes to you when you hear it? Perhaps it is a flash of something you want. A new car, a house with a room that catches the morning sun, a certain number in your bank account, a relationship that feels like coming home, a feeling of freedom, of lightness, of being finally alive. But if you are honest with yourself, you know these are not desires. Not really. These are wishes. They are like clouds passing in the summer sky. They look beautiful for a moment. You might point at one and say, I wish I could live up there. But the cloud has no intention of staying. It is moved by the wind. It has no weight. It cannot make anything grow. It cannot water the dry ground of your life. It cannot move mountains. It cannot change the human heart. And here is the hidden problem. The problem that keeps more people stuck than poverty, than lack of education, than bad luck, than all the recessions and pandemics combined. The problem is this. Most people go to their graves having never known the difference between a wish and a burning desire. They spend 60, 70, 80 years confusing a fleeting thought for a committed flame. And because they do not know the difference, they sit, they wait, they hope, they wait for the wish to magically come true, as if the universe were a delivery service for daydreams. They wait for someone to notice them, to tap them on the shoulder and say, "You're the one we've been looking for." They wait for the market to change, for the economy to improve, for their boss to retire, for their children to grow up, for their ship to finally come in. They wait for a ship they never built, sailing on an ocean they never crossed, to a harbor they never mapped. A wish is passive. A wish is a hope that the universe will deliver what you are unwilling to go and get. It is a letter you write but never mail. A burning desire is the opposite. It is active. It is relentless. It is a magnetic force that pulls the universe toward you and you toward it. It does not wait for the wind. It becomes the wind. Think of it like this. Imagine a man standing in a vast, dark forest. The trees are thick. The night is moonless. He cannot see his own hand in front of his face. In his pocket, he carries a single unlit match. He wishes for light. He wishes to see the path. He wishes for warmth, for direction, for a sign. He stands there gripping the match, hoping that the darkness will somehow, by some miracle, recede on its own. He hopes the sun will rise early just for him. He hopes the trees will part and reveal a golden road. This is the average person. They possess everything they need to create light. The match is in their hand, but they never strike it. The friction, the heat, the sudden flare, the risk of burning their fingers, it is too much effort. It is too intense. It is too uncertain. What if they strike it and the light only lasts a second? What if it goes out and leaves them in a darkness that feels even deeper than before? It is easier, safer, more comfortable to simply stand still and wish. Most people go through their entire lives with an unlit match in their hand. They have the potential for fire, for warmth, for a blaze that could illuminate the entire forest. But they are afraid of the spark. They are afraid of what the light might reveal. It might reveal that they are lost. It might reveal that the path is harder than they imagined. It might reveal that they have been standing still for far too long. And so they choose the familiar darkness over the terrifying possibility of a temporary light. They choose the devil they know over the angel they cannot see. They tell themselves that darkness is peaceful. They tell themselves that wishing is enough. They tell themselves that at least they are safe. This is the tragedy of the human condition. Not that we are weak, not that we are lazy, not that we are unlucky, but that we are unaware of the power we hold. We are unaware that the match is in our hand. We have been trained by a world that profits from our passivity to believe that the light comes from outside. Buy this lamp, follow this guru, invest in this scheme, wait for this election. We are taught to be good employees, good consumers, good citizens who keep our heads down and our expectations low. We are taught to be realistic. We are taught to be sensible. We are taught to stop playing with matches. And so, the desire, the real desire, the one we had as children before the world told us to be sensible, that desire gets buried. It never dies. Nothing that real ever dies, but it gets buried under layers of shoulds and ought tos, and that's impossible. And people like us don't do things like that. It becomes a faint, muffled cry from a deep well, a cry you can hear only in the stillness. Late at night when the phone is silent and the television is off and the distractions have finally tired themselves out, you can hear it, a small voice whispering, "There is more. You were meant for more than this." Most people spend their entire lives trying to silence that voice. They turn up the volume on the noise. They scroll. They binge. They numb. They lose themselves in the drama of other people's lives, in the crises of strangers, in the shallow waters of entertainment, anything to avoid the painful, beautiful ache of the buried desire. They do not realize that the ache is not a curse. It is not a punishment. It is a compass. It is pointing them toward their destiny, but they refuse to follow it because the path looks dark, and they are still holding an unlit match. This is where everything changes, if you will let it. Because the moment you recognize that the problem is not a lack of opportunity, but a lack of ignition, that moment you stop looking outside. You stop blaming the world. You stop waiting for the ship to come in. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. And you finally look down at your own hand, and you see it. You see the match. The question is no longer, why hasn't the universe given me what I want? The question becomes a much more terrifying, much more powerful one. A question that separates the few from the many for all of human history. The question is simply this: am I brave enough to strike the match? This response is AI generated, for reference only. Now, we must look at this trap with clear eyes, because it is not a trap made of iron bars and locks. It is not a trap set by governments or corporations or your difficult boss or your unsupportive family. It is a trap made of thoughts. It is a prison without walls, without guards, without visible boundaries. And most people do not even know they are in it. They live their entire lives inside this prison, believing they are free. This trap has a name. It is called acceptable mediocrity. It is the gentle, slow, insidious process of lowering the bar. It does not happen overnight. No one wakes up one morning and decides to be average. It happens in small, almost invisible steps. Steps so small you do not notice you are walking downhill until you are so deep in the valley that you cannot see the mountains anymore. It begins in ways that seem wise. You dream of building a business, something of your own, something that bears your name and your vision. But then the mind steps in, sounding very reasonable, very protective. It tells you the market is too competitive right now. The economy is uncertain. Maybe you should just focus on getting a promotion instead. That's safer. That's smarter. And you listen, because it sounds like wisdom. You dream of writing a book, not for fame, but because the words are inside you, pressing against your ribs, demanding to be born. But the mind whispers again, who are you to write a book? No one knows your name. Publishing is impossible to break into. Besides, no one reads anymore. Maybe just keep a journal. That's enough. And you nod. You agree. You put the dream on a high shelf where you cannot reach it. You dream of true love. Not a comfortable arrangement, not a roommate with shared expenses, but a deep soul connection, a love that sees you completely and stays anyway. But the mind, ever protective, ever afraid of rejection, tells you real love like that is for movies. It's for the lucky ones. Relationships are hard work, and most of them fail. Maybe you should settle for someone who is fine, someone who is nice, someone who doesn't ask too much of you. And you do. You settle. And with each compromise, each lowering of the bar, something strange happens. You feel a little less pain. The ache of the unfulfilled desire fades, just a little. The voice from the well grows quieter. You become more comfortable. You become more realistic. You become more accepted by the world because the world loves people who have stopped reaching. The world throws a party for those who give up, and the party is called normalcy. This is the trap. It is so effective because it feels like growth. It feels like maturity. It feels like you are finally getting your feet on the ground. But in truth, you are sinking. You are trading the vast, terrifying ocean for a small, safe puddle. You are trading the possibility of flight for the security of the ground. Napoleon Hill spent more than 20 years of his life studying this phenomenon. He was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in history, to interview the most successful people of his generation. Not just the wealthy, but the accomplished, the influential, the ones who had turned their visions into reality. He spoke with Henry Ford, who built an empire from a shed. He spoke with Thomas Edison, who failed 10,000 times before he lit the world. He spoke with hundreds of others who had risen from nothing to become forces of nature. And what Hill found was not a secret formula for getting rich. There is no such formula. What he found was a specific pattern of thinking. He found that the greatest obstacle to success is not the external world. It is not the economy. It is not the commission. It is not the lack of resources. The greatest obstacle is the internal world. It is the mental habit of accepting defeat before the battle has even begun. The average mind is trained to look for reasons why something cannot be done. It is a master at finding obstacles. It is a genius at constructing barriers. Give the average mind a dream, and it will hand you back a list of impossibilities a mile long. It will say, "I don't have enough money." It will say, "I'm too old to start over." It will say, "I'm too young. No one will take me seriously." It will say, "I don't have the right education, the right connections, the right last name." It will say, "My family is depending on me. I can't take a risk. What if I fail and they suffer?" Each of these statements feels like a fact. They feel like solid, unshakable truths carved in stone. But they are not truths. They are justifications. They are the excuses the mind creates to protect itself from the pain of trying and failing. The mind would rather be safe and mediocre than vulnerable and alive. This is the great betrayal of the human brain. It is designed to keep you safe, not to make you great. It is a survival mechanism, not a thriving mechanism, and it will sacrifice your greatness on the altar of your comfort without a second thought. And so the mind builds a comfortable prison. It decorates the cell with nice things. It gives you a good job, a decent car, a respectable address. It points to others who have less and says, "See, you should be grateful." It fills your head with comparisons that make you feel fortunate for your small, quiet, unfulfilled life. This is the trap. It is the narcotic of at least. At least I have a job. At least I have a roof over my head. At least I'm not as bad off as him. At least I'm healthy. At least I'm alive. Now, do not misunderstand. Gratitude is a beautiful thing. It is the soil in which happiness grows. But when gratitude becomes a weapon you use to kill your own ambition, it becomes poison. When you use thankfulness as a reason not to reach for more, you have twisted a virtue into a vice. It becomes the chain that keeps you in the cave. It whispers to you that wanting more is greedy, but striving for greatness is arrogant, that reaching for the stars means you are ungrateful for the ground beneath your feet. But listen closely. Listen with the ear of your heart. The universe did not put that fire in your chest so you could spend your life putting it out. That longing for more, that restlessness, that dissatisfaction with the status quo, that is not a flaw in your character. That is the engine of your evolution. It is the signal that you are ready for the next level of your own existence. It is the pain of a seed cracking open so that a tree can grow. The trap is so effective because it sounds like common sense. It sounds like wisdom earned through hard years. When you are 20, you have wild, impossible dreams. The fire burns hot. When you are 30, you start to listen to the voices that tell you to be sensible. The fire dims. By the time you are 40, you have become the voice. You are the one telling the younger generation to be realistic. You are the one passing on the chains. You are the prison guard now, and you do not even know it. This is the cycle that must be broken. It has been broken before by every person who ever achieved anything worth achieving. And it can only be broken by one thing. Not by a better plan, not by more education, not by a lucky break. It can only be broken by a desire so intense, so focused, so white-hot, that it burns through every excuse, every justification, every fear the mind can produce. A desire that does not argue with the obstacles. A desire that does not negotiate with the trap. A desire that simply looks at the mountain and says, move. The trap is real. It is old. It has caught billions. But you are not trapped unless you agree to be. The walls are made of thought, and thoughts can be changed. The bars are made of fear, and fear dissolves in the presence of a burning enough why. The question is not whether the trap exists. The question is whether you are ready to stop being its prisoner. And so we arrive at the principle. The simple, profound, life-altering truth that Napoleon Hill placed at the very beginning of his philosophy, before any talk of planning, before any discussion of action, before any mention of persistence. He placed it first for a reason. He called it burning desire. And he did not mean it as a poetic phrase, as something pretty to write in a journal. He meant it as a literal, demonstrable, scientific fact of human achievement. He meant it as the engine without which nothing else moves. Hill stated with absolute conviction that the starting point of all achievement is desire, not hope. Hope is beautiful, but hope is a passenger. Not wish. A wish is a cloud. Not a plan. A plan is a map, but a map cannot walk. Desire. A burning, all-consuming, white-hot desire. He said that the person who has a burning desire to achieve a definite purpose is a person who cannot be stopped by any force on earth. The world may throw obstacles in their path. It may take years. It may take decades. It may take their fortune, their friends, their health. But that person, with that fire inside them, is already victorious, even before the outer world reflects it. The victory has already happened inside them, and the outside is simply catching up. Why is this so powerful? Why does this one quality outweigh education, connections, talent, and luck combined? Because a burning desire does not just change your circumstances. It changes you. It changes the very fabric of your being. It rewires your mind. It alters your chemistry. It gives you eyes to see what the average person cannot see, ears to hear what the average person cannot hear, and strength to do what the average person cannot do. Think of a sculptor. Walk with me into their studio. There is a block of marble in the corner. To you, to me, to anyone passing by, it is just a rock. A heavy, cold, inert piece of stone. It has no value beyond its weight. But the sculptor looks at it differently. The sculptor has a burning desire to see the form inside. They can see the angel trapped in the stone. They can see the curve of the wing, the tilt of the head, the expression in eyes that do not yet exist. The vision is so real to them, so vivid, so alive in their imagination, that the marble is already transparent. They are not looking at a rock. They are looking at a revelation waiting to be released. And because they see it so clearly, because they desire its release more than they desire comfort, more than they desire an easy life, they are willing to pick up the chisel. They are willing to strike the stone 1,000 times. They are willing to have dust in their lungs and blisters on their hands and aching in their backs. They do not do this because it is easy. They do it because the desire to see the angel is stronger than the desire for comfort. The desire burns so hot that the discomfort of the work is nothing compared to the agony of leaving the angel trapped. This is what a burning desire does. It gives you the stamina to endure the process that makes others quit. It gives you the eyes to see the invisible. It transforms you from a passive observer of life into an active participant in your own creation. You are no longer someone to whom things happen. You are someone who makes things happen. Most people look at a goal, and they see only the gap. They see the distance between where they are and where they want to be. They look at the mountain and they see only the climb. They look at the ocean and they see only the vastness. And they are overwhelmed. The gap paralyzes them. The distance defeats them before they take the first step. They turn away, back to the safety of the flatlands, and they tell themselves the mountain was too high anyway. But a person with a burning desire does not see the distance. They see the goal. The goal is so real to them, so vivid, so present in their imagination, that the distance becomes irrelevant. They are not moving away from their current situation, with all its lack and limitation. They are moving toward a reality that already exists in their mind. The mountain is not an obstacle to be overcome. The mountain is simply the path to the summit, and the summit is already theirs. This is a secret that Hill uncovered after 2 decades of research. He stated it simply: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief is not a casual nod. Belief is not a polite agreement. Belief is the offspring of burning desire. You cannot truly believe something is possible until you want it so badly that the thought of not having it is unbearable. When you desire something with every fiber of your being, you begin to believe it is possible, not because you have evidence, but because the desire itself creates the belief. And when you believe it is possible, your mind begins to work overtime to find a way. It starts to generate ideas you never had before. It starts to notice opportunities that were always there, hiding in plain sight, invisible to the average eye. It starts to draw people and circumstances into your orbit, as if by magnetism. This is not magic. This is not mysticism for its own sake. This is a law of nature, as predictable as gravity, as reliable as the tide. A person with a clear, burning desire emits a frequency that the world responds to. They walk into a room and people feel it. They feel the intensity. They feel the purpose. They feel that something is different about this one, and they are drawn to it, not because the person is desperate, but because they are determined. There's a world of difference between the two. Desperation repels. It smells of need, of emptiness, of clinging. Determination attracts. It smells of direction, of fullness, of motion. Desperation says, I need you to save me. Determination says, I am on a mission. You can join me if you wish, but the mission continues whether you come or not. The burning desire is the engine. It is the power source. Without it, all the knowledge in the world is useless. You can have a library in your head and still starve. Without it, all the talent in the world is wasted. You can have the voice of an angel and sing only in the shower. Without it, all the positive thinking in the world is just a pleasant distraction. A warm bath that leaves you clean but unchanged. You can read every self-help book ever written. You can listen to every podcast. You can attend every seminar from here to California. But until you strike the match, until you ignite the desire, until you feel the heat in your chest that will not let you sleep, you will remain exactly where you are. The books will pile up. The knowledge will accumulate. And your life will not move 1 inch. So the question becomes intensely personal. It is no longer a philosophical discussion for some distant future. It is no longer an interesting idea to ponder while the fire fades. The question is here, in this moment, with you. The question is, do you have it? Do you have a desire that burns? Or have you let the world convince you that embers are enough? Have you let the years convince you that a small, warm, comfortable glow is all you need? Have you settled for the warmth of the ash when you could have the heat of the flame? Look inside. Be honest. The fire does not lie. It either burns or it does not. And if it does not, if you find only cold ash and old memories of heat, do not despair. Ash can be stirred. Embers can be breezed upon. The fire can be rebuilt. But it must begin with a choice to stop accepting the lukewarm, a choice to stop settling for the almost, a choice to want something so badly that wanting it becomes the most real thing about you. That is where it starts. That is where it has always started. That is the principle that changes everything. Let us look now at the mind of the achiever, not the famous ones you see on magazine covers, not the ones whose names appear in history books, but the quiet achievers, the ones who built something from nothing. the ones who overcame odds that would have crushed 100 others. The ones who, when life knocked them flat on their back, somehow found the strength to rise again with dust on their knees and fire still burning in their eyes. How do they think? What goes on inside their minds that is different from the average person? Because something is different. Something must be different. You cannot explain the gap between the life of quiet desperation and the life of magnificent purpose without looking at the machinery of thought. They think in terms of absolutes. This is the key difference. This is the dividing line. The average mind thinks in terms of preferences. I would like to be successful. I would prefer to be healthy. I hope to be happy. I wish I had more money. I want to find love someday. All of these statements are soft. They are flexible. They have built-in escape hatches. If success does not come, well, I would have liked it, but it was not meant to be. If health fails, well, I preferred to be healthy, but these things happen. The preference allows for failure. The preference makes peace with defeat before defeat even arrives. The achiever's mind thinks in terms of necessities. I must succeed. I will be healthy. I am going to find happiness. I shall have more money. I will find love or I will die trying. Do you hear the difference? It is not subtle. It is a chasm. The achiever has removed the option of failure from their mental vocabulary. They have not merely hoped for the outcome, they have demanded it. They have issued a decree to the universe and, more importantly, to themselves. For the average person, the goal is a luxury. It would be nice to have, like a vacation home or a sports car. It is desirable, but it is not essential for survival. Life can go on without it. And because life can go on without it, it probably will. The universe has a way of matching our level of commitment. If you are committed at 50%, the universe gives you 50% results. If you are committed at 100%, the universe finds a way to meet you there. For the achiever, the goal is as essential as the air they breathe. They have connected their desire to something so deep, so fundamental, so rooted in their identity, that not achieving it is simply not an option. They have backed themselves into a corner where the only way out is through. They have burned the ships. They have crossed the Rubicon. There is no going back. There is only forward, only victory, only the relentless pursuit of the vision that haunts them. This is what Napoleon Hill meant when he talked about definiteness of purpose. It is not a vague idea written on a sticky note and forgotten. It is not a New Year's resolution abandoned by February. It is a decision. It is a line drawn in the sand. It is the point of no return. It is the moment when you stop flirting with your destiny and marry it. Think of a mother protecting her child. Imagine a scene. A mother is walking down the street with her small child. A car runs a red light. The child is in the street. The car is coming. In that split second, the mother does not calculate the odds. She does not think, well, the chances of me reaching my child in time are statistically low. The car is heavy. I am not particularly strong. I might get hurt. What will people think if I fail? No, none of that happens. She has a burning desire to save her child. That desire unlocks strength she did not know she possessed. It silences the voice of fear. It turns an ordinary woman into a force of nature. She moves faster than she has ever moved. She lifts weights she could never lift in a gym. She does the impossible because the alternative is unbearable. This is the level of intensity we are talking about. The achiever has learned to attach that same life or death intensity to their purpose, not because their business is literally a matter of life and death, but because they have trained themselves to feel that way. They have cultivated the ability to treat their dream as if their very survival depends on it. They have learned to make the thought of failure more painful than the pain of discipline. Now, you might be thinking, you might be sitting there in the quiet and a thought rises. You think, but my dream is not a matter of life and death. It is just a business. It is just a book. It is just a better life for my family. It is not like saving a child from a car. And that thought, that reasonable, sensible, logical thought, is precisely the reason it has not happened yet. Because on some level, you have decided you can live without it. You have decided that life would go on. You have given yourself permission to fail, and because you have decided you can live without it, because you have given yourself that permission, you will. The universe will not force greatness upon you. It will not give you a burning desire if you are content with a lukewarm one. It will not light the fire for you. You have to strike the match. The achiever understands this. They know that the mind must be trained, just like a muscle. They know that thoughts are not just fleeting visitors. Thoughts are builders. They build the reality you will live in tomorrow. So the achiever is ruthless about what they allow into their mind. They feed their desire and they starve their fears. They do this constantly, daily, hourly. They hold the vision of their goal in their mind until it becomes more real than the obstacles. They refuse to entertain thoughts of failure. When failure knocks, they do not answer the door. They surround themselves with people who lift them up, not with people who clip their wings and call it honesty. They also think differently about failure itself. This is crucial. The average person sees failure as a verdict. It is an ending. It is a period at the end of the sentence. It is proof that they were right to be realistic, right to be cautious, right to stay small. The achiever sees failure as data. It is feedback. It is information. It is simply the discovery of one more way that does not work. Thomas Edison did not fail 10,000 times to invent the light bulb. He successfully found 10,000 ways that didn't work. His desire to create light was so strong that every failure was just another step on the path. He did not stop when the experiments failed. He stopped when the light came on. This is the mindset. This is the secret thinking of those who achieve. They do not have a magical power denied to the rest of us. They have simply made a decision that is available to anyone at any time, in any circumstance. They have decided that their desire is more important than their comfort. They have decided that their purpose is more important than their pride. They have decided that the pain of regret, the pain of reaching the end of life and wondering what might have been, is far worse than the pain of discipline, the pain of effort, the pain of temporary failure. And that decision, that one single profound decision, changes everything. It changes how they see the world. It changes how the world responds to them. It changes what is possible. And so we come to the quiet place, the place of reflection, the place where all the philosophy, all the principles, all the stories, all the examples of great achievers must finally meet the reality of your own life. Not someone else's life, not the life of Andrew Carnegie or Thomas Edison or any of the names from the history books. Your life, the one you are living right now, the one that brought you to this moment, to this quiet room, to these words. This is the moment of awakening, and it is important that you understand something about this moment. It does not come with a fanfare. It does not come with a lightning bolt from the sky. It does not come with angels singing or drums rolling. It comes in a whisper. It comes in the stillness. It comes in the space between one breath and the next, when you are quiet enough to hear what your own soul has been trying to tell you for years. It is the moment you stop asking, "How do I get what I want?" and you start asking a much deeper question, a much more terrifying question, a question that cuts through all the strategies and tactics and plans like a knife through fog. You start asking, who must I become in order to receive it? This is the shift. This is the pivot point. This is where everything changes, because a burning desire is not really about getting things. It never was. The things are just symbols. The money, the house, the relationship, the freedom, the success. These are just the outer reflections of an inner transformation. A burning desire is about becoming. It is about the fire burning away everything that is not you until only the essential remains. It is about the chisel striking the stone until the angel is free. The universe is not going to hand you $1 million if you are the kind of person who would waste it on things that do not matter. It is not going to hand you a soul-deep relationship if you are the kind of person who is incapable of true intimacy, who runs at the first sign of vulnerability. It is not going to hand you a platform to inspire millions if you have not yet inspired yourself. It is not going to give you the mountain if you have not yet learned to climb the small hills. The burning desire is the forge. It is the fire that burns away your impurities. It burns away your laziness. It burns away your excuses. It burns away your small-mindedness. It burns away your fear of what others might think. It burns away your need for approval. It burns away your attachment to comfort. It is a painful process. There is no denying that. There is no way to soften this truth. To strike the match, to feel that flame ignite inside you, is to invite a period of intense transformation. It will ask you to give up your comfortable suffering for the uncertain path of growth. It will ask you to let parts of you die so that new parts can be born. But listen carefully. The alternative is worse. The alternative is to let the fire go out. The alternative is to spend the rest of your life wondering, what if? The alternative is to reach the end of your days, to lie on your deathbed, and to realize that you were the sculptor who walked past the marble every day for 50 years and never picked up the chisel. You were the one who had the match but never struck it. You were the one who had the desire but never let it burn. You were the one who heard the scratching at the door, the sound of the person you could have been. And you turned up the television instead. This awakening is the realization that you are not a victim of your circumstances. This is the great lie that keeps humanity asleep. The belief that what happens to you is more important than what happens in you. The belief that your background, your education, your bank account, your family history, your past mistakes, that any of these things have the power to stop you. They do not. They never did. You are not a victim. You are the creator. You are not a passive passenger on this journey, hoping the driver knows the way. You are the driver. And the fuel in the tank, the only fuel that matters, is your desire. It may be buried deep right now. You may have spent years, decades, piling dirt on top of it. You may have convinced yourself it is dead. You may have built a whole life around the belief that the fire went out long ago. But it is not dead. It cannot die. It is part of you. It is the ember that still blows beneath the ash, waiting for someone to breathe on it. And all it needs is for you to breathe on it. All it needs is for you to give it your attention. All it needs is for you to feed it with your focus, with your faith, with your refuse to accept a life that is anything less than the one you were born to live. Napoleon Hill gave us the map. He spent 20 years of his life distilling the wisdom of the greatest achievers the world had ever known, and he placed the starting point exactly where it belongs. He told us that the starting point of all achievement is a burning desire for a definite purpose. He did not say it would be easy. He said it was simple, and it is simple because it all begins with a choice you make in the quiet of your own mind, a choice that no one else can see, a choice that no one else can make for you, a choice that the entire universe will eventually feel. You can choose to stay comfortable. You can choose to be realistic. You can choose to listen to the voices that tell you to be sensible, to keep your head down, to not make waves. You can choose to accept the darkness. That is a choice. It is a valid choice. Millions make it every day. Or you can choose to strike the match. You can choose to let the fire consume your fear and light your path. You can choose to become a force that cannot be denied. You can choose to let your desire burn so brightly that it illuminates not only your own way forward, but becomes a beacon for others who are lost in the dark, who have forgotten that they too carry a match. This is the power that sleeps within you. This is the wisdom that has been waiting for you to find it. This is the truth that no one can teach you, but that everyone can see when you live it. The question is not whether you have a burning desire. You do. Everyone does. The question is whether you have the courage to let it out, the courage to let it consume you, the courage to let it remake you in its image. The match is in your hand. It has always been in your hand. The choice is yours. And the moment you make it, the moment you decide, everything changes. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect. Now, in this moment, the awakening is here. The question is whether you will answer it.